definitely think you've heard it all. Remember Rosemary and Lovu? I mean, who doesn't, right? Well, as it turns out, there are way more like her out there. Welcome to yet another episode of Keeping Up with South Africa with me, Bella Monsoon. Today, Agnes Segamotsi Setwanshaw made her first court appearance in regards to an alleged claim of the orchestrated death of her niece. This follows after her arrest in Centurion yesterday. She faces charges of murder, fraud, and defeating the ends of justice. The 49-year-old woman has been under surveillance for the past 2 months by none other than Sergeant Mabunda, the man who ultimately brought down Rosemary and Lovu. This surveillance began after a tip-off from a relative. The body of her niece and the suspected victim has been exhumed after initially being ruled as a natural death. She passed away shortly after the suspect had fraudulently taken out an insurance policy on her life. And it gets worse. Along with the relative's death, the death of the suspect's son, who died in July of 2023, her husband, who died in 2016, and her 2 daughters, who died in 2015 and 2006, are also being investigated. And yes, over that period of time, she allegedly pocketed large sums of money. Her case has been postponed to November 24th, and as always, I'll be sure to keep you updated.
Is happening.
Imagine if this came running at you. On the 18th of August 2008, this high school in Krugersdorp, South Africa, experienced a nightmare. Just after the bell rang, Jock Pretorius was walking to class. Someone behind him shouted, "Run away, he's mad." As Jock turned around, surprised, a masked figure wielding a samurai sword slashed open his throat. Jock died instantly. Fellow student Stefan Bauer was walking down a hallway nearby, confused by the shouting up ahead. The slasher marched down the hallway towards him. As Stefan turned to run away, the masked figure swung his sword, slicing open Stefan's skull, leaving him in a bloody heap on the floor. 2 brave groundsmen, Simon Manmamela and Joseph Kodasang, saw the attacks and ran over to intervene. But one was stabbed in the arm, the other had his face sliced open. The whole school was in a state of chaos. Crowds of students screaming, running and pushing to flee the scene. The attacker walked over to a nearby wall and sat down, sticking a sword into the ground in front of him. A teacher approached the attacker and ordered him to go to the principal's office. Amazingly, the attacker did as he was told. It turns out the person under the mask was 18-year-old fellow student Mornay Haransam. Mornay was a small lad who was heavily bullied during his time at school. From a broken home, he found little support from his parents. His father was prone to aggression and violence. Due to his low self-esteem, he planned the attack to impress his friends. He told them, "Today I'm going to do it. Today is the massacre." He had brought along additional masks, swords, and even a bomb for his friends to join in. But the group of misfits refused to be involved. The boy Jock that he killed, he'd never even met before. It was a totally random attack. Mornay was a Satanist. In his room, police found Ouija boards, tarot cards, and drawings of pentagrams. He was sent to a hospital for observation to assess his mental state. After a total of 60 days, the unanimous report was that he was not mentally ill and was fit to stand trial. In September 2009, Mornay was sentenced to 20 years behind bars for the murder of Jock and the assault of Stefan, Joseph, and Simon, who all survived the attack. He was granted parole and released from prison in March 2022.
This is definitely one of the most devastating and cruel cases of a young child you'll ever hear. On May 4, 2017 in Cape Town, South Africa, a 3-year-old girl named Courtney Peters was reported missing as she suddenly vanished from her neighborhood. A search party was organized by Courtney's family, but unfortunately, 9 days later, her body was found in a shallow grave in a nearby sand dune and was pronounced dead. A 40-year-old man named Mortimer Saunders, who lived in the same community as Courtney, also aided in the search for the missing girl, but started exhibiting very suspicious behavior. However, on May 14, 2017, Saunders was arrested and charged with Courtney's murder after his DNA matched with the DNA found in Courtney's body. During the trial, it was revealed that Saunders had lured Courtney into his home and drugged her with an ant poison before essaying her and killing her. He then dumped her body in the sand dune. Then finally on March 2018, Saunders was found guilty of SA and premeditated murder and was sentenced to life in prison. And this CCTV footage right here is Mortimer Saunders carrying Courtney's body.
Ellen Puckies is a South African woman who gained significant attention and became the subject of a widely publicized case in the early 2000s. She was born on March 10, 1961, in Lavender Hill, a suburb of Cape Town, South Africa. Ellen Puckies came from a disadvantaged background and struggled with poverty and substance abuse. Her son, Abi Puckies, had been addicted to drugs for several years, particularly Tik, a highly addictive form of methamphetamine. The relentless strain of her son's addiction and the impact it had on their family pushed Ellen to the brink of desperation. On August 7, 2007, overwhelmed by the emotional and physical toll, Ellen Puckey strangled her 20-year-old son Aby while he slept. She later turned herself into the police and admitted to the killing. Her case raised many complex questions about addiction, mental health, and the limits of parental love. During her trial, Ellen's defense argued that she had been driven to commit the act out of a combination of desperation, helplessness, and a profound sense of love for her son. The prosecution, however, contended that she had acted deliberately and was fully aware of her actions at the time of the crime. In 2008, Ellen Puckey stood trial for the murder of her son. The case captivated public attention and sparked intense debates about mercy, compassion, and the impact of drug addiction on families. Ultimately, the judge ruled in favor of a reduced sentence, taking into account Ellen's circumstances and mental state at the time of the killing. Ellen Puckey's received a 3-year suspended sentence in community service for her crime. Her case shed light on the challenges faced by families dealing with drug addiction and prompted discussions about the need for better support systems and resources for both addicts and their loved ones. The story of Ellen Puckey's has since been adapted into a play and a film, bringing further attention to the complexities surrounding addiction and its consequences.
Can someone please tell me what the hell is this?
Have you ever wondered why cheetahs have tear stains on their faces?
Well, according to this South African folktale, these black markings speak to the love of a mother cheetah for her cubs.
Let us tell you a story from the Zulu tribe about a cheetah's tears.
A long, long time ago, there was a lazy hunter who had gone out to find food for his family.
It was a hot day, so true to his character, the hunter sat under a tree and rested.
He noticed there was a herd of impala that were grazing close by and wished there was an easy way to catch his prey under the sun.
Suddenly, he noticed movement in the long grass. There was a cheetah silently stalking the impala.
She waited patiently for one of the impala to stray from the herd. Then, with great speed and agility, she leapt out from the grass and caught her prey.
The hunter was very impressed by the cheetah's hunting skills, and he wished that she could hunt for him and his family.
He watched the cheetah drag her prey to her 3 hungry cubs, who began to eat.
This gave the lazy and cunning hunter a great idea. He would steal one of the cubs, raise it, and use it to hunt food for him and his family.
He waited for the cheetah to leave her cubs to go to the waterhole and set his plan in motion.
The hunter took one cub, then another, then decided to take all 3.
The mother cheetah returned to see her cubs were missing, and she was extremely distressed.
She cried and cried and cried. In fact, she cried all night and all of the next day.
The mother cheetah cried so much that the tears made long, dark stains down her cheeks.
An old man who was passing by heard her crying and asked what was wrong.
She explained what had happened, and the old man realized that it was the lazy hunter from his village who had stolen her cubs.
He promised to return them to her and rushed to the village to speak to the elders.
The elders confronted the lazy hunter, who was swiftly expelled from the village for stealing the cubs and dishonoring the tribe's tradition of using only their skills for hunting.
The old man returned the cubs to their mother, but the stains from her tears could not be wiped away.
They have remained on cheetahs forever as a reminder to hunters to be honest and ethical in their hunting methods. And that is the story of why cheetahs have tear stains on their faces.
And if you want to hear more African folktales like this one, press the follow button.
The group slang is said to reside in a deep cave located in Richtersveld, South Africa. Her legend is that the gods were new to creating things and made a mistake with this creature, not only making it part elephant and part snake, but also giving it extreme strength and intellect. It is said that the gods realized their mistake and split it into 2 different creatures, now known as just an elephant and a snake. but one of the original Grizzlings escaped and now devours elephants by luring them into its cave.
This is one of the most horrific stories I've heard of in recent times. The man in the picture is a South African who is alleged to have murdered one of his colleagues and went ahead to take a selfie with the corpse of the deceased. This horrific incident occurred on Friday the 10th of November 2023. The suspect is said to be an employee of Sibanye Stillwater 7 Shaft, a mining company in South Africa. The deceased was his colleague. According to eyewitnesses' accounts, the victim had gone into the medical aid offices in the shaft, and as he walked towards his vehicle in the parking lot to get his clock card, the suspect immediately attacked him. Eyewitnesses narrated that the suspect had 2 knives, a bigger knife and a smaller knife. He first of all stabbed the victim in his stomach and went ahead to use the big knife to cut off his head. As soon as he beheaded the victim, he kicked off the victim's head away from the victim's body, proceeded with the small knife to open the abdomen of the victim, and then he took out something from the victim's gut and ate it. All this horrific act he carried to the onlookers' views without any fear or restraint whatsoever. According to these eyewitnesses, the suspect remained very calm while carrying out this horrific act on the victim. As soon as he was done eating whatever it was he took from the victim's gut, he sat down very close to the victim's corpse, brought out his cell phone and began to take selfies. He was not afraid or even fast to leave the crime scene. He remained at the crime scene unafraid, not worried whether he was going to be arrested or confronted by anybody. Another eyewitness said that at some point when he ran to attack the victim ran towards the security guards of the shaft, but they refused him entry, and that made it very easy for the suspect to attack the victim in that manner. One of the suspects said that police officers were called to come to the crime scene, but at the time he left, the police was yet to arrive at the crime scene, while the suspect remained very calm, still taking selfies with the corpse of the victim. So many people have expressed their displeasure at the actions of the eyewitnesses who stood back and did nothing to restrain the suspect from harming the victim. These people are worried that why would people see someone committing such a heinous crime and made little or no effort to stop him or to even save the victim. All they did was to stand back and video the horrific act of this man. They did nothing to stop him. They did nothing to restrain him. They made no attempt to save the victim. And this group of people are wondering, should people take their phones and video instead of making effort to save those who are in danger? This group of people have asked this series of questions, even though it appears no answer is being provided at this moment. This is a very sad story and avoidable. I am just wondering why nobody made effort to save the victim from this monster. This remains a developing story, guys, and I will definitely update you should any further detail emerge on this story. In the meantime, guys, take care of yourself, take care of your emotions, take care of your mental health, be kind to yourself, be kind to the people around you, and always stay safe. I remain Dorcas Ike Olukan, and I love you guys.
Aliens caught crawling on beach in South Africa.
So, they're not aliens, they're spiders. Giant sea spiders to be exact. Although technically they're not actually spiders, they're more related to like horseshoe crabs and scorpions. Scientists also found out that they're venomous and carry enough toxin to life-deprive an iguana. And while it can't delete a human, it can cause excruciating pain and nerve damage, especially if you have an allergic reaction to it. But there is a moral here. If someone on the internet says something confidently and without stuttering, you're probably going to believe them because everything I just said is a lie. Those are actually dead aloe pharaoh plants from South Africa, also called the Cape aloe. This is what they're supposed to look like. So no, they're not dangerous. In fact, researchers have been studying them to see if they can be used to treat different types of cancer, rheumatism, diabetes, gout, all that stuff. So yeah, that's all it is. But hey, don't be disappointed, because I promise you this is 100% real. The more you know.
These creatures looked exactly like this. They are the type of alien creature that has been known and feared throughout Africa for generations. This creature is about 3 feet tall. It looks for all the world like a child who is on the last stages of dying of malnutrition. It looks exactly like this, and it has a strange smell, which once you smell it, you shall never forget it. This creature is known by the Zulu-speaking people of South Africa as a Mantindane. The word Mantindane comes from the verb ntinda, which means to abuse, to fiddle with, and to torture by interfering with the victim's genitals and other private parts. This is an exact description of the Mantindane. It does exactly that. For hundreds of years, even mighty nations such as the Zulus, even powerful warrior nations such as the Botswanas and Xhosas lived in mortal fear of these creatures.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Strange. Want to hear something scary? It's not good enough to know all the details of creepy folklore creatures. You have to know what to do when you're actually faced with one, or you'll end up suffering a deadly fate, as in the South African urban legend of Pinky Pinky. Tembi sat petrified on the bedroom floor of her big sister's room. Kaya was having a sleepover party and let Tembi sit with her friends while they told scary stories. Tembi was going into 6th grade, so hanging out with the older teens was very exciting. Tembi tried to act brave, but the urban legend of Pinky Pinky really freaked her out. Never go into the bathroom alone, declared Kaya's best friend Elna. That's when Pinky Pinky will get you. It is half human, half beast. It has a slightly pinkish tint and translucent skin. Its soul is said to be trapped between the stalls in the girls' bathroom, doomed to be stuck between this life and the next, never being able to move on. Pinky Pinky takes its bitterness out on young girls who still have their whole lives ahead of them. Filled with jealousy and rage, it attacks when they're alone in the bathroom. While the other girls laughed and made spooky noises, Kaya checked in on her sister, who was looking distressed. She really needed to go to the bathroom, but after hearing that story, she didn't want to go alone. Elna asked her if she was wearing pink underwear, and the others snickered. She was just making sure because that really upsets the Pinky Pinky. Kaya assured her little sister it was fine to go to the bathroom, and it was just only made-up tale just for scaring little kids. But Elna just wouldn't stop teasing her. She agreed it was fine in their house because Pinky Pinky only lurked in the 2nd floor school bathroom. The first day of school finally arrived, and Tembi had forgotten all about the legend of Pinky Pinky. Between new books, planning out outfits, and figuring out her classes, she was happy to be in her new school. Tembi sat in math when it hit her. She hadn't gone to the bathroom all day, and she really needed to go right now. She hurried down the hallway and stopped dead in front of the door. Pinky Pinky, she thought, her gut twisting. She was on the 2nd floor. She looked around weighing her options. There was no time to go down to the 1st floor. She told herself she was a brave 6th grader, not a silly little kid. It was all pretend. Just go, she thought. She took a deep breath and went in.
Have you heard of the ghost of Uniondale in South Africa. Uniondale is a town in the Klein Karoo in the Western Cape. From the outside, it appears to be a typical innocent South African small town. However, it's also home to one of the most mysterious ghost myths in the country. The story goes that one stormy night in 1968, a woman by the name of Maria Charlotte Roux was driving with her fiancé. They were traveling on a road just outside Uniondale when the fiancé lost control of the vehicle. The car rolled and she was tragically killed. According to legend, her spirit lives on, and many have reported her hitchhiking on the same piece of road to this day. Apparently, motorists will pick her up, and after a few minutes of driving, she will suddenly vanish from the car without a trace. There was even a motorcyclist, Andre Kutsia, who claimed that while traveling alone on a motorbike, he suddenly felt someone's arms from behind him wrapped around his waist. So, could the ghost of Uniondale actually be real?
Are African vampires real? The Impunjulu is a vampire creature from the mythology of the Zulu people of South Africa. It is said to be a bird that can transform into a beautiful woman. It feeds on the blood of children and animals.
Mythology and Folklore, Part 5, Tokalash.
This African creature can be found in various African cultures, but more particularly in South Africa. It's described as dwarf-like or an imp, small and humanoid. The name is derived from the Zulu language, but goes by many other names in different parts of Africa.
It's considered a malevolent entity and is often associated with witchcraft or black magic and is summoned and controlled by witches, warlocks, or sorcerers to carry out their bidding. They are described as having a grotesque appearance with bulging eyes, a hairy body, and large heads, with long, phallic-like noses. They possess the ability to become invisible or shapeshift at will, making them nearly impossible to capture or even detect. They are said to prey on women and children from essaying to nightmares, sleep paralysis, and even death. People have developed various rituals and protective measures said to work against these creatures, such as placing bricks or other objects under their beds or specific herbs or charms.
This belief is deeply ingrained in some African communities, and stories have been passed down for generations, while modernization and increased exposure to Western influences have made the belief wane in other areas.
If you live in South Africa, watch out for these cryptids. Creepy urban legend you didn't know about. The evil Takalosh. Perhaps the most well-known creature in South African myth is the Takalosh, a malevolent, imp-like spirit from Xhosa and Zulu culture. According to belief, Takaloshes are summoned by people wishing to do harm to others. The Takalosh is capable of causing illness and death to the victim. According to popular legend, people raise their beds on bricks to avoid falling prey to the diminutive Takalosh. However, this idea is problematic because it was possibly invented by Europeans to explain why black South Africans put bricks under the legs of their beds. The real reason for the practice is nothing more than to make storage space in cramped quarters. There is scant evidence for where and how the Takalosh legend actually originated. The South African legend of the evil Takalosh picture.
Today's fairy tale comes from South Africa, and it's called The Talking Skulls. So once upon a time, there was this hunter walking through the forest when he comes across dozens of skulls. And the skulls start chattering as though trying to speak, and the hunter asks them, "How did you get here?" To which the skulls reply, "Talking brought me here." Confused at what they said, but excited at his find, the hunter ran to the king. And the hunter told the king, "Look, there's this forest of talking skulls, you gotta come with me." And the king says, "Look, if you're telling the truth, I'll reward you, but if you're not, I'm gonna punish you." And the hunter says, yeah, of course, follow me." So the hunter leads them back to the forest of talking skulls, and he gets there, and they're not talking. Their jaws aren't chattering, they're not doing anything, they're just skulls. Angered and embarrassed, the king cuts the hunter's head off. And as the hunter's head lays there, the skulls turn to him and ask, "How'd you get here?" To which the hunter's head replies, "Talking got me here." Have a terrific day, everyone. Today's folktale comes from South Africa, and it's called Cannibal Mother. And if you're a fan of Jordan Peele movies, you're gonna like this one, because it sounds like something he'd do. The story begins with a brother and sister who get sent away by their father to live with their grandpa. The reason for this is because the mother has become a cannibal. Something you gotta know about African folklore is when they say cannibal, they mean ogre. Now the kids miss their mom, and despite all attempts by the grandpa, they end up going back to their home. The father starts freaking out because he's like, "Hey, your mother's gonna be here any second, you guys need to leave, she will eat you." But too late, the mom has arrived. And she brought with her an animal carcass and a human body. The animal carcass is for her husband, the body's for her. At once the mother is able to sniff out her children, at which point the father makes a desperate attempt to attack the mom so his kids can escape. The kids run for their lives, but they're caught, and in a last-ditch effort, the little girl sings a song that her mother used to sing her. And the song works, the mother leaves the kids alone and returns home. After the father attempts to end the cycle with the mother, she ends up unaliving him. Mother then proceeds to eat everyone in the town, kids included. And now a gigantic, grotesque monster, she comes across a bird. The bird grows massive in size and proceeds to tear apart the cannibal mother. And while the bird is able to save some people the mother's eaten, it's not able to save everyone. Lucky enough, though, the two kids do survive. That is the story of the cannibal mother. Hope you enjoyed this story, everyone. Jordan Peele, if you see this, make this into a movie, and have a magical day, everyone.